Jackie, another breaking story tonight, a shakeup at the Pentagon, another one, the Navy Secretary departing his post. What do we know?
Yeah, the Pentagon spokesman just announced Navy Secretary John Phelan is departing the administration effective immediately, saying, quote, "We wish him well in his future endeavors." It was not immediately clear from this post if he resigned or was fired, but Fox News has learned in the last few moments that he was fired. He had a very close relationship, apparently, with Donald Trump Jr. and just hosted a bridal shower for his fiancée this past weekend in Palm Beach. Phelan was confirmed by the Senate just over a year ago. Undersecretary Hung Cao is to assume the role of acting secretary. This marks the 34th military officer that Secretary Hegseth has fired since taking over the agency, Brett.
Yeah, John Phelan, at Navy Secretary there.
Okay, so in a matter of a year, we have Admiral Lisa Franchetti, the Navy's top uniformed officer, gone. General Jim Slife, the number 2 leader at the Air Force, gone. General Charles C.Q. Brown Jr., former chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, gone. Army Chief of Staff Randy George, removed mid-war, gonzo. And now Navy Secretary John Phelan joining the long and ever-growing list of senior Army and Pentagon officials dismissed in recent weeks at the hands of the Trump administration.
And we're back. So we have 2 ousters today, this time from Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth. He has asked Army Chief of Staff General Randy George to leave his post. George is the Army's most senior general. A defense official says Hegseth asked General George to retire immediately. Now, the ouster comes as the U.S., of course, is battling Iran. Joining me now is Hal Kempfert, a familiar face around here, and on Live Now, a national security analyst, also a retired U.S. Marine. Thank you, and thank you for your service. Let's just get your reaction to this. Is this really a big deal?
Well, Marla, it's a deal. I mean, normally when you become a service chief or a chairman of the Joint Chiefs or the vice chair, normally those are 4-year terms. That is not set in stone. That can change, and certainly we've seen a lot of changes, with Pete Hegseth as Secretary of War or Secretary of Defense. He's removed about a dozen flag and general officers. Of course, you may recall he removed C.Q. Brown, Air Force General, who was the chairman of the Joint Chiefs when he came in. He also, Lisa Franchetti, who was the CNO, Admiral, head of the Navy, Chief of Naval Operations. And then, of course, General Cruz, Lieutenant General Cruz, head of DIA, and others have been removed as well. So they're not afraid of removing flag and general officers, but this is still a big deal.
Navy Secretary John Phelan abruptly left his job yesterday, in part according to reports, because of a hugely expensive new battleship that he championed, which sparked friction with his superiors, including none other than Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth, who people familiar with the matter told Politico. But the massive ships were set to cost the Pentagon billions. And well, if you hadn't noticed, we're spending billions on the daily on a war that did not get congressional approval and was sold as minimal in scope, but is now estimated to stretch even further into the year.
Former CENTCOM commander and retired 4-star General Joseph Votel is here in moments to talk about how an Iranian military believed to be nearly destroyed was able to attack 3 ships.
All right, as we look forward to that, we kick off.
It's going to be finished pretty quickly.
I do see a deal in Iran, yeah.
Mr. President.
Could be soon.
We are going to finish the job, and we're going to finish it very fast. We're getting very close.
I think it's close to over here. I view it as very close to over.
I will say the war in Iran is going along swimmingly. We can do whatever we want. And it should be ending pretty soon.
Pentagon, at the time of recording this video, declined to comment on the specifics of yet another firing, other than this departure was, quote, effective immediately with the former leader's deputy installed as acting secretary. Here's what makes this whole thing significant, right? This is happening, again, in the middle of an active conflict with Iran, which past military leaders have been forced to weigh in, saying, yeah, this isn't a good sign.
George is now out, was asked to retire yesterday. He's a personal friend of yours. What do we lose when we lose General George?
He's a generational chief of staff, as far as I'm concerned. I haven't seen anybody quite like him. He's got the intelligence. He's got the discipline. His warfighting experience is enormous. He's got the warrior ethos, and he's transforming the Army and taking it into the new technology and warfare that is so changing.
Right.
The truth is he's leading the other services in most of all of that. And I don't agree with his dismissal for sure because of what he's doing to the Army and the change it's impacting the department writ large.
Because when you remove the civilian head of the Navy, the top general of the Army, and multiple senior officials in rapid succession, you're not just changing personnel, right? You're disrupting the entire command structure. Phelan's removal was described as, quote, another wartime shakeup, part of a growing pattern of abrupt exits at the Pentagon. And under Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth, there has been a clear pattern forming here. Senior leaders removed when he questions their loyalty. Even the Army's top general was caught in his crosshairs, fired during active operations with just a minute phone call, according to reports on the matter, because, yeah, that's respecting the military, right?
Hegseth has fired more than a dozen senior military officers over the last year. In fact, he's almost completely remade the Joint Chiefs of Staff. Just 2 officials remain from before President Trump took office. Marine Corps Commandant General Eric Smith and Chief of Space Operations General B. Chance Saltzman. Now, you might have noticed if you look at that photo, Hegseth's version of the Joint Chiefs, those are entirely white men, despite the fact that as of 2024, nearly 33% of active duty service members are of color and nearly 18% are women. Hegseth made it quite clear that that type of representation in the top ranks does not matter to him. Just last week, the New York Times reported that in an extraordinarily rare move, Hegseth was actively blocking the promotions of 4 Army officers. Officials saying 2 of the officers are black, 2 of them are women. Parnell defended the promotion process to the New York Times as apolitical and unbiased, unquote. The New York Times reports that Army Secretary Dan Driscoll repeatedly refused to let Hegseth strike those officers' names from the promotion list. Officials told the Times that Driscoll took heat from Hegseth's chief of staff, the controversial Ricky Berea, for promoting Major General Antoinette Gant to command the military district of Washington. The Times reporting, quote, Mr. Berea told Mr. Driscoll that President Trump would not want to stand next to a black female officer at military events, the official said, unquote.
And the timing of this matters because this is happening while the US is enforcing a naval blockade on Iran. Troops are still actively deployed and escalation remains ongoing with no clear direction as to if or when this conflict will ever end.
In the last few minutes, President Trump has issued a fresh order to the US military over the blockade of the Strait of Hormuz. Writing on Truth Social, the US president wrote, I've ordered the United States Navy to shoot and kill any boat, small boats though they may be. Their naval ships are all 159 of them at the bottom of the sea. That is putting mines in the waters of the Strait of Hormuz. There is to be no hesitation. Additionally, our mine sweepers are clearing the strait right now. I'm hereby ordering that activity to continue, but at a tripled up level.
The problem is being created by basically very small, low-cost speedboats operated by the Iranians that are able to cause real problems, as we've seen over many weeks now. I think in all, this post kind of demonstrates the president's frustration. I mean, I think we're 8 weeks into this conflict now, albeit in a state of ceasefire right now, but it's totally unresolved. Economically, the situation in the Strait of Hormuz is terrible, and we're all feeling that right around the world with energy prices. So although there's a ceasefire, it is still a war. It's 8 weeks long. And this war, he said, would be very simple, very quick, and would last no more than a few weeks. So the president has a problem, and he is struggling to get out of this one.
While Trump and Hegseth are hell-bent on projecting stability and leadership through strength, their actions run contrary. And as a result, any faith that the American people had in this administration's handling of this war and that it may come to some successful end has dwindled to the point that it's even worse than Trump's overall approval, which is pretty dire.
The show today, new polls show people are not confident that our government is competent, and the president's approval rating stands at 42%. He's way behind on inflation, the economy, and government spending. The Europeans aren't the only ones worried about the timeline. A new Fox poll shows 70% feel that the economy is getting worse. Mary Kath.
This level of rapid turnover and internal conflict will hardly rally the troops either, especially when the Wall Street Journal are out here reporting that their commander-in-chief is reportedly so unhinged during the heat of conflict that he's been kept away from the Situation Room where decisions are being made. All of which just breeds chaos. Chaos that seems to be par for the course for Team Trump versus Iran. So when you look at that long list, not just one name, not just one departure, not even just one department, but a pattern of removals all during an active conflict, it tells you something's fundamentally wrong here.
Themselves and coming forward.
Maxwell, who do you think the next person Trump should fire should be?
I mean, is he out of women? Because that seems to be his pattern right now.
It's Tulsi Gabbard.
Yeah, I mean, Trump only seems to have the capability to fire female secretaries.
But given all the clownish behavior we've seen out of like Pete Hegseth, Cash Patel, and all the rest, what's a man got to do to get fired in the Trump administration?
Exactly. I think what Cash Patel's done is 1,000 times worse than a lot of other people. But they've got a scot-free. I mean, for them, I think if you're a man in the Trump administration, it seems that they reward misconduct. So hard to tell. They don't seem to have a rhyme or a reason, unless it has to do with the Epstein files. Then you'll get the chop.
Got it. Thank you very much.
Love this video? Support independent media and unlock exclusive content, ad-free videos, and custom emojis by becoming a paid member of our YouTube channel today. You can also gift memberships to others. Let's keep growing together.